Well, pro-life advocates from across America have flocked to the nation's capital ahead of tomorrow's annual March for Life. Tens of thousands are expected to attend the event on the Washington National Mall. The theme of this year's march, Equality Begins in the Womb. March for Life President Jean Mancini recently joined us on Faith Nation to explain its meaning.
Our thought going into this year is that equality and, for some, equity has been part of the public conversation to some certain rigorous degree over these past couple of years, whether it's racial injustices, whether it's even COVID, precautions and what have you. And so we wanted to take that very interesting and robust conversation, but insert into it a topic that often is not included, which is the equality of the unborn child.
The March for Life happens every year, centered on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, the Supreme Court decision legalizing abortion in America. Now, with the future of Roe again in the hands of the High Court due to an abortion case out of Mississippi, organizers say they hope this is the last march to take place under the 1973 ruling. Well, Dr. Tara Sander Lee is the Director of Life Sciences at the Charlotte Lozier Institute, a research and education nonprofit working in life-related policy and legal decisions. Tara, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Let's talk about that theme, Equality Begins in the Womb. Can you talk about its significance and what that means to you?
This is such an important time, and the theme is so important. Equality begins in the womb, because not only, I don't know if you've seen the recent New York Times article, but we're finding that not only are healthy babies being aborted in the womb, but babies are being discriminated against in the womb just because they have different genes from us. They have, such as Down syndrome. And so we are seeing that babies are being aborted at a high rate just because they look different than us, they act different than us. And so it's such an important time to have a march that focuses on the fact that we need to consider all babies to be equal, from not only inside the womb, but outside the womb as well.
You talk about discrimination, citing that reporting. I know you're committed to the cause, and I understand you've helped in cases where there's been a Down syndrome diagnosis for the unborn. Can you talk about why that's such an important fight?
It's so important because right now over a dozen states are passing laws that are going to ban abortions based on a prenatal diagnosis or risk that the baby has disease, such as Down syndrome or another trisomy disorder, such as trisomy 13 or 18. And so what I've been testifying in different states about is that we need to support this type of legislation so that we do not abort babies inside the womb for any reason, let alone because they have a genetic disposition. So it's really important that these laws are going into effect. And it's also really important to know that a lot of these genetic screens that are occurring are often wrong. They are just screenings. They're not always diagnostic. And so a lot of babies are being aborted not just because they have a risk of this disease, but also healthy babies are being aborted because the tests are actually wrong. And so it's really important that we get that information out there. And so I've been going into the states and testifying on how inaccurate these tests can be and how wrong these abortions based on how discriminatory they are.
Tara, we only have a few seconds left. I'd love your thoughts on this possibly being the last year the March for Life will proceed with Roe v. Wade still in place.
It is such an exciting time. We are very optimistic that the Supreme Court is going to have a favorable ruling later this year, and that this will be our last march, and that we will see a reversal of Roe in some capacity, and that these decisions will go back to the states, and that more lives will be saved.
All right, we will have to leave it there. Dr. Tara Sander Lee of the Charlotte Lozier Institute, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks so